Welcome back, kiddies. It's good to see that you all survived the frivolities of All Hallows Eve. As you know by now, the Vols' hopes for a bowl are still alive after taking care of UAB 30-7. It was a ho-hum kind of game. Honestly, I felt like the offensive line took a couple of steps back. The offense in general took a few steps back. JT Shrout started, quickly gave way to Jarrett Garantano, and he had one of those old-school Garantano games. He wasn't impressive. He had the head-scratching interception in the end zone right before the half that really could have changed the game. Now, I've heard a lot of people say this week that, well, how far we've come that we can feel sort of ho-hum about a 30-7 victory. This time in September, we were wondering if we'd win any games, and here we are, 2 games away from qualifying for a bowl. It's a nice place to be considering how we started, although I think this may be a team that we'll always feel like should have won 9. The quarterback situation is a little bit of a mystery. I'm not sure where Pruitt's head is. Garantano had hand surgery the Monday before the game. He only fumbled the ball once. You can question the kid's head, you can question his decision-making, you can question his arm. You can't question his toughness, though. My cowl's off to him for that. But why start Shrout this week if you're going to pull him after one series? I know Pruitt said he made a boneheaded decision, but that's about par for the course with the quarterback position. Also, Brian Maurer was reportedly ready to go, but didn't get a snap. It's befuddling, at best. I understood it last week. I understood you start Shrout, you're a little afraid after the debacle in Tuscaloosa that Garantano might get some boos from the home folks. But with the way he played against South Carolina, I would have thought that those demons were exercised. Far be it from me to question Coach P. I suppose he's earned the benefit of the doubt a little bit with the way he's turned this team around. We're not where we want to be, certainly. But, we feel a lot closer to blowing out teams like UAB 55-3 like we used to do in the old days than we do to losing to a team like Georgia State at home. So it's enjoy the ride, I suppose. You keep hope alive as long as you can, and we'll see what's coming up next. Well, it's the Wildcats of Kentucky is what's coming up next. It's only the 3rd true road game that the Volunteers have had this year. The weather on the Commonwealth is usually terrible this time of year, so expect a cold one. The Vols have played 6 weeks in a row, and Kentucky's coming off a bye. How is that going to affect the energy level for these teams? Kentucky is playing a wide receiver at quarterback, reportedly, although one of the other ones might be back. There's rumors of that. But I suspect that they will dance with the girl that got them this far. One thing Coach Pruitt has proven, though, is that when he's up against a truly one-dimensional offense, he can put together a game plan that takes that one thing away. I think they're going to make this wide receiver throw the ball. That's why I'm going to pick the Vols in a gut-it-out kind of game, 27-17. In other news, basketball season is back. Rick Barnes and the boys took on UNC Asheville last night and won despite a fairly ugly first half. There were a lot of turnovers, which I attribute to Lamonte Turner and Jordan Bowden really trying to do too much at this point in the early going. They know that Grant Williams and Jordan Bone and Kyle Alexander and Admiral Schofield are not walking through that door. They're not. It's a big adjustment. It's a very different team. So I think they're pressing. They're trying to hit the home run when, the slap single would do. Not to mix sporting metaphors. But this team is really going to succeed or not on the basis of 2 or 3 really young players on the team. At the end of the day, we know what Lamonte Turner and Jordan Bowden bring to the table. They're known commodities. What we don't know is what 5-star Josiah Jordan James, Triple J, we don't know quite what he brings to the table. He looked a little tight last night, but it was his home opener as a freshman. I think he's going to be fine. He's got too much talent to be anything but. Also, Olivier Kamwa looks like a steal. He looks like a mini Grant Williams. He looks like he has that sort of potential. The only difference being Grant, when he got here, needed to shed a little weight, whereas Olivier looks like he could put on a pound or two, but he's about the same size. He put on a very sweet post move. If he can get half of Grant's post moves, he's going to be a steal of this recruiting class. And Devontae Ticket Gaines. The kid is much stronger than he looks. He looks like, I really want to buy him a sandwich. But he played big. He's got to play well enough to spell Lamonte Turner at point guard and get him some rest. Lamonte played 18 minutes in the first half last night, and that's probably not sustainable over the course of an entire season. But there were far, as I said, there were far too many turnovers in the first half, a lot of sloppiness. Coach Barnes pointed out after the game that Lamonte and Bowden were probably trying to do too much on their own, and that they needed to trust those interior players. They needed to trust Folke and Olivier a little bit more, give them some of those entry passes and see what they can do. They're not going to be Grant and Admiral, but they don't really need to be. They need to do just enough to keep defenses from chasing our shooters off the three-point line. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the NCAA and their denial of Uros Plavsic's petition for immediate eligibility. It's ridiculous. It's 2019. It's almost 2020 at this point. And an organization the size and the relative importance of the NCAA is allowed to work in the shadows and make all these shadowy decisions. That's my job. I work in the shadows, not you. An organization like this should have to make their decisions public, should have to make their rationales public, and they should have to stand up to the public scrutiny, but they won't do that. They will not do that, ladies and gentlemen, because if the public ever saw how arbitrary and inconsistent the NCAA's decisions were, there would be no NCAA. The villagers would be out there with torches and pitchforks, and the whole thing would be over in half an hour. Tennessee's filed one last appeal for Plavsic, his eligibility, but my understanding is that appeal is dependent on new information being submitted. I don't know what possible new information UT could have, but we're pulling for it because this team is going to be a little weak in the post, and a 7-foot-tall rim protector could really help this year. Otherwise, Fulkerson's going to have to play the same kind of minutes that Lamonte Turner's playing, and he's not a center. I mean, he's worked on his game. He's a lot better. But, he's still got to work. And shout out to Yves Pons. 6 of 8 from the field, 3 or 4 from the stripe. Played stellar defense. I think moving him to the 4 was a good move. You can always kind of trust Rick to make the right moves and push the right buttons. But we have to be patient because this team is not going to be the team that we had last year. It was an enjoyable ride. And next year, we've got a whole lot of talent ready to come in. So this year is going to be kind of the team between teams. I think that making the tournament is a solid goal for this team. I think it's attainable, but 31-6 probably is not. Anywho, I will see you after the Commonwealth. I would likely see you after Tennessee's next basketball game will be Tuesday against Murray State, giving Rick a whole week to work over the film and coach him up. But yeah, it's the week after Halloween. I'm taking it easy. That was kind of a mad party I had. Anyway, Vols and Volettes, enjoy your week, and Boney, take us home on a joke.
Man, I haven't been able to brush my teeth in years. Could someone please drop a breath mint in my tank?